It concerns Big Blue. The breaking news in the SportsCenter. Michigan has fired their head football coach, Sharpe Moore, for cause. School said an investigation found that he had an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. Moore had been suspended for 3 games, given a 2-year show cause order for his part in the school scouting and sign stealing investigation. Our Adam Schefter joins us now. Adam, what more can you give us on this news just coming in?
Well, Brian, I can tell you, having spoken to various members of the football program, the coaches were called in and told that Sharpe Moore was being fired. They then were calling in the team to tell them the same news. And then a short time ago, Michigan Athletic Director Warde Manuel released a statement that you read a part of, where essentially it says that following a university investigation, credible evidence was found that Coach Moore engaged in an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. The conduct constitutes a clear violation of university policy, and Michigan maintains zero tolerance for such behavior. Biff Poggi has been appointed head football coach in an interim capacity, effective immediately, and obviously there will be a lot more to this story that comes to the forefront in the days and weeks to come. But what we do know now is that Michigan becomes the latest school to join a long line of them to make a head coaching change in what has been a tumultuous season in college football. Michigan now will have to go find a new football head coach to take over for Sharpe Moore. Sharpe Moore obviously will move on from the university. It's been a difficult situation for everybody. People involved in the program are surprised. One staff member texted me that he's completely shocked by this particular situation. But Sharpe Moore is the latest big-name college football head coach to now be out.
All right, Michigan fires Sharpe Moore. Biff Poggi, the interim head coach for the time being. Adam Schefter with the latest. Thank you.
We've got breaking news out of college football where Michigan has fired coach Sharpe Moore with cause. Michigan AD Warde Manuel released a statement on the matter saying, quote, following a university investigation, credible evidence was found that Coach Moore engaged in an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. This constitutes a clear violation of university policy, end quote. Moore has been the head coach of the Wolverines for the past 2 seasons, tallying a 16-8 record. He took over for John Harbaugh back in 2024 when Harbaugh left for the Chargers head coaching opening. Jim Harbaugh, after winning a national title with Michigan. The Wolverines went 9-3 this season, finishing the year with a 27-9 loss to Ohio State in Ann Arbor. With Poggi, who took charge of Michigan for the 2 games Moore was suspended this season, has been named interim head coach. For much more on this, let's go ahead and welcome in 24/7 sports reporter Chris Hummer. Chris, it's great to see you. Let's just start with your initial reaction to this news.
Well, as one coach texted me shortly after it happened, it's a nuke. Like, this is one of the biggest college football stories of the year and really of the decade, to see a coach in this prominent of a position be fired like this. Rumors have flown around about Sharpe Moore in this particular situation for well over a month now. This is something we've been looking into in our kind of back end of things quietly, but to see it progress to this level today was a bit of a shock. It happened very quickly. I think if you talk to people behind the scenes, donors, once they kind of found out about the allegations of what happened, have been a little shy to put money into the program the way they have. I think staff members were worried about what the future of Sharpe Moore was over the last couple days and really the last couple weeks, and you saw that all come to a head today with Michigan firing him for cause.
So looking forward into the interim future, if you will, what does this mean in the short term for Michigan right now?
It means a reset. This is the second significant scandal under this era of Michigan football, if you will. It resulted in a national championship, but you obviously had the sign stealing scandal with Jim Harbaugh and everything else that happened there. And now you have Sharpe Moore, kind of the last vestige of attachment to that previous Michigan staff that won a national championship, leaving for a for-cause firing. And you kind of now have to officially turn the page for Michigan. And they're going to have to undergo a national coaching search, and they're very late to the party. And what turned out to be one of the most hectic coaching cycles in recent memory. And just like Nick Saban a couple of years ago when he retired in January and pushed over a bunch of dominoes late, Michigan is the type of job that could do that. So Michigan's going to have to go out and find the right guy. But in terms of the coaching cycle itself, like they could find the right guy and that could tip over several more dominoes the rest of the way. So it's going to be a very interesting time in college football with Michigan open.
Late to the party, I think, is a perfect way to put it there, Chris. You hate this, obviously, for the players who just unexpectedly just lost their head coach. What does this mean for some of the players, especially quarterback Bryce Underwood?
Well, the new NCAA rules for the portal dictate that a player can't immediately enter the portal upon their coach's firing. They have to wait until January 2nd to do so unless a coach is hired after January 2nd. They get an extra time period then. So immediately they're just going to be sitting and waiting like the rest of us really to see who the hire is going to be. As for Bryce Underwood specifically, he's one of the most important players in college football. He was the signature win of the Sharon Moore era. He is under a multi-year deal with Michigan. He signed a historic high school recruiting contract when he flipped from LSU to Michigan. So he is locked in a way with Michigan, but as we know, in this era of college football, contracts don't always mean everything. But whoever comes in next, priority number one is to retain Bryce Underwood. Bryce Underwood is a local kid. He's from Michigan. He went to Michigan for a reason. Now it's going to be up to whoever comes next to sell Bryce Underwood and keeping that vision and moving forward with him as the face of Michigan football.
Chris, thank you so much. We'll have much more on this in a bit here on CBS Sports HQ as you take a look at the recent statement that Michigan has released saying, quote, Sharon Moore has been terminated with cause effective immediately. Following a university investigation, credible evidence was found that Coach Moore engaged in inappropriate relationship with a staff member. This conduct constitutes a clear violation of university policy, and UM maintains zero tolerance for such behavior, end quote. Keep it right here. We will have much more on this new development and breaking news. Sharon Moore fired by Michigan. Next on HQ. The annual battle between Army and Navy, a game that recently has really been an incredible one to watch. 8 of the last 11 games between Army and Navy have come down to one possession. The Black Knights have won 6 games since they snapped a 14-game losing streak back in 2016, but Navy really closing that gap. It's also going to be a very special game for a CBS legend who will be calling his last Army-Navy game, Gary Danielson. Gary, it is so great to see you. This is a special one, but having called many Army-Navy games in the past, what about this rivalry has been so special and unique for you?
Wow, it's hard to kind of put it in words. The first thing that comes to mind, it's humbling, basically, to do it. It means so much to so many people. But I think it's the people that are involved in it. Everyone. The players, the parents. What comes to mind is that these are families that are willing to sacrifice, players, young adults that are willing to sacrifice things that are important to them, or their country, their family. They're willing to help others first. That famous JFK quote when President Kennedy was talking, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. We're watching 2 teams that take that to heart. And it's not a hate. It's a great rivalry, but everybody involved respects each other so much because they know how much sacrifice all these people are putting into this game, and it's a joy to be a part of.
When I came into work today, Gary, I had to go back in my camera roll and check out some photos and videos because I had a chance to go to the game last year in Washington, D.C. And you have to say to those watching, if you have a chance to go to an Army-Navy game, it has to be a bucket list item for you. It was unbelievable. I do want to dive a little deep into this matchup in particular, starting with the Navy, who is aiming to win 10 games for a second consecutive season. Just how impressive has Coach Brian Newberry and this team been this year?
Yeah, that's really an interesting take because when the change was made, the former head coach, Kenny Niumatalolo, had done such a great job over his career. And he seemed to be the right guy for the job, and they'd had some success. But but they had slipped a little bit. And, I think those in charge felt they needed new blood, and Brian Newberry was on that staff, and he seems to be the perfect guy. He's very strategic, former defensive coordinator, has a big picture of how football's supposed to be played. He seems very calm. He doesn't overreact. I think his players respect his leadership. And I think because he was inside the program, he understands what it takes for these players to get ready for these games. And boy, what he's done, winning, it could be, he had the first year where he had to kind of turn it around, but since then he's got them really going. He's got a great senior class here this year, and he's using them wisely. And, his quarterback has come through. He came through a year ago, and Blake is having a good year there again this year.